Today I'm going to show you how to build this bookcase with hidden storage. Hey guys, my name is Robert Dailey and this is the Recreational Woodworker. Today I'm going to build a really cool custom bookcase for a customer, and I'm also going to produce a set of plans that you can take and customize to build your own bookcases in different sizes and things like that. Coming in here to my computer, I have my model already made, and the way I do this and the way I do all my models is essentially I talk with my customer, get an understanding for what they want, make a model of it, get their approval, and then I break it down into all of the individual pieces and sizes that I need to make all my parts. You can see those laid out right here. And so to make this, just because you can see how I'm making it, but if you want to, you can use the plans and that'll make it easier because it'll give you dimensions and a little bit more specific instructions, because I'm going to try to keep this video pretty short. I say that all the time and then my videos are longer. So on the screen I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 1x12s. I'm going to need just a little bit of 3/4 inch plywood. My back is going to be made of 1/2 inch plywood, so it looks like about half a sheet there. My shelves I'm going to make out of solid maple because we're going to stain those, and I thought it'd be a cool look. But the rest of this is going to get painted so I can be more cost effective and use less expensive material for my painted parts. So the first thing we have to do are make the legs. So let's zoom in here to the legs right here. The legs are going to be 2 inches by 2 inches. So you can see right here I can lay it out on the 1x12. I don't have a lumber mill local to my area that can mill up quickly and cost effectively some 2x2, some true 2 inch by 2 inch lumber that's going to be good and stable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to laminate some 1x's together and then plane and cut them down on the table saw and planer. That's how I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to do a round over on them. If you have access to a good lumber mill in your area or a good lumber store in your area, you can say, hey, I need some 2 inch by 2 inch maple, poplar, whatever, and most likely they can mill it up for you. That's the beauty of kind of living in a big city versus a small town. To do this, I'm going to cut my boards a little bit wider. So my finished size, I want 2 inches, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this up 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. That way I have plenty of room to misalign things a little bit, to sand, plane, and cut things down to be the right size all said and done. If I tried to make this perfect and just cut everything the exact size to start with, there's no way my finished piece would be the 2 inch square that I need it to be. So same thing with the length. This bookcase is going to be about 6 feet tall, so I'm going to cut things about 73 inches, 6'1", so I can trim everything to size once I'm done. Hope that makes sense. Now let's get started. So I've jointed one edge of these with my track saw. That's just the easiest way for me to do it because I don't own a joiner because I don't really have room for one here. So that's how I get my straight edges for glue ups. I then ran it through the table saw to get my 2 1/4 inch pieces. Now I'm going to run it through my thickness planer to clean it up. If you look, you can see it's kind of dirty. There's probably some uneven spots in there. And what I'm going to do is called skip planing, where I'm just going to take a little bit off of one side, flip it over, and then take a little bit off the other side. And if you don't have a thickness planer, I think it should definitely be on your top 5 list of tools, and those top 5 are miter saw, table saw, thickness planer, router, and track saw, in my opinion, if they're big tool investments. But you should definitely have one. This one's great. You can get whichever one you like. So everything is planed, and now I'm ready to glue this up. So what I'm going to do to glue it up is I'm going to use my wall-mounted panel clamp or tabletop clamp to clamp everything up. But before I do that, I need to know about how thick this full stack is going to be. So I'm just going to stack everything up, and it also helps me stage it all right here. and then I can kind of inspect as I go to make sure I get some good clean grain to the outside because it'll paint better. And there we go. So that's stacked up right there. I have my tape measure, and my entire stack is about 8 1/4 inches. So you can see by the time I planed it, these 4 legs got really close to 2 inches thick. So I'm going to take my clamp here and I'm going to raise this up to about 8 1/2 right there, and then come set that at 8 1/2. Okay, and that should get me enough room to get everything aligned and put in place. So I have these 2 clamps that are going to be outside. I'm going to pull out 2 clamps so I can clamp from the other side. And let me bring you in closer so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So whenever I glue this up, I obviously don't want to make one huge leg. So I'm going to take one board, put glue on it, take the second board, set it on top, do that, and then I'm going to skip. And then I'll take this glued up section, place it in the clamp, glue up 3 more, place it in the clamp, 3 more, place it in the clamp. That way there's no glue between these 2. So say this leg and that leg, there's going to be no glue between it. That way I can get them apart later. I might have to knock them apart because some squeeze out might bond it together, but it's not going to be so bad that I can't go back and fix it. So I've got my glue bottle here. I've got all this set up. Kind of want to inspect to make sure that I'm getting kind of the good pieces to the outside. And you see that's kind of an ugly spot that I actually want to clean up with some sandpaper before I glue it. And then this is a really good end grain piece, so we want that to be on a show face. We want that to be in the middle. We want this part to be in the middle. 1, 2, 3. And there was one with a knot in here. Yeah, so that's a knot, so we want that to be in the middle. So these 4 are going to be my middle pieces. This can be an outside. That's going to be a really good show face. This is a really good show face. And you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4. That is kind of ugly, so I'll move that like that, and then have the backs right there. And that's just how you can get really good boards that look good on your show faces when you're doing this, and you can put your ugly ones in the middle. I am going to sand these a little bit on those dirty spots to make sure it's clean so I have good glue adhesion, and then we'll come back and glue this thing up. So I'm going to start with 1, 2, and 3 right here. And I'm going to take my glue bottle and I'm going to liberally apply glue. Alright, then I'm going to take the uglier centerpiece one and just lay it on top. I'm going to move it around to spread the glue out, and as long as you put glue in enough places, your clamping pressure is going to spread that glue everywhere it needs to be. Alright, so that's 2. Now we're going to do the last one. Always err on the side of what you think is too much glue. And that's our 3rd. Same thing, we're going to take our nicer face, put it right there, spread it out a little bit. Now I'm going to take this whole unit and set it inside my clamps. So I'm just going to set it right there. And now that's good. I'm going to make sure one end is pretty close to flat. You can see that my boards, I had some that were just a little bit longer, so I didn't bother cutting them. So now we're going to do the next one. Okay, so we have that in place now. So now I'm just gonna put a little bit of pressure to make sure I hold it. Same thing here in the center. A little bit of pressure to make sure I hold it. Not too much because I don't want it to bulge out on me. Right here. Make sure it'll hold. Like that. Okay, so that's good right there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna use my angle iron to press it flat right next to where my clamps are. So let's take that and that. This angle iron is lined with packing tape so it doesn't stick to my workpiece. There we go. Clamp that. Grab another clamp. Clamp that. And that will hold it pretty darn flat. Not perfectly, but close enough for what we're doing. There we go. And now we have that. Now you're probably thinking that's not enough clamping pressure, and you're absolutely right. But now that we have that, we can crank these guys down to right there, and then I'll take my other clamps, alternate them from the other side to get my good clamping pressure as evenly distributed as possible. All right, there's one more thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take some sawdust and put it all over this right here. What that'll do is it absorbs the glue and it'll keep it from sticking together as bad. All right, so that is our legs. This needs to dry overnight, and then we can start working on the rest of our bookshelf. All right, so I have my legs made. Very simple process. It's time consuming, you have to do a few steps, but cut your boards oversized, glue them together. It's called lamination. You laminate them together, and then you just cut off the excess a little at a time until you get your 2-inch square. And now I have my 4 legs. On this particular piece of furniture, because I'm matching it to a dresser that already exists, I need to create a taper on this. So I'm going to lay out that taper, and then I'm also going to have to do a curve. So these are going to be my 2 front legs. I basically looked and saw like which are my best looking legs. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go ahead and label that left, right, put an arrow for up, and then so right face, left face. This way I have all of my labels. Now, what I remember from my measurements that I took, that I need to come in about 1.25 inches. So the combination square is extremely useful for things like this. So I've set it for 1.25 inches. Yeah, because it's going to round over as well. So I'm going to put a tick mark right there at 1.25 inches. I'm going to come and do my other leg at 1.25 inches. Now, on the piece of furniture I'm matching, the base of the shelving is going to start 6 inches up. So I'm going to put a mark 6 inches up. I've got these even right here. Now let me zoom in so you can really see. I've got this marked right here. I've got my square set at 6 inches. These are flush. So I'm going to mark 6 inches right here. And let's go ahead and square that up right there. So that's going to be the start of the bottom shelf. So I'm going to put shelf. There we go. Now I'm going to start my taper an inch below. So I'm going to turn back, set that at 5 inches. Place my square again. Start my taper, or strike a line. And then I'm going to put taper. Okay. I have no idea if that's spelled right, but whatever. Now I'm just going to connect those 2 dots. So in this case, I'll just pull my ruler out of the square, line it up right there, line it up right there, and strike my line. This is where a mechanical pencil comes in handy, because you can get a really precise line. If you want to be even more precise, you can use a knife. So come in. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There we go. So I've struck my lines right there. So now I'm just going to use my pencil to shade the areas that I need to remove. Okay, so now I need to do the outside. So I have left face, right face. So if I flip these together, I have left outside and then right outside, and those that needs to come from the outside to the center. So in fact, I need to flip these because, yes. So I'm flipping those over so I can mark them the same way. That way the tapers kind of work towards each other. So I'm going to get it flush again. And I did a review over these Festool clamps a while back, and they are absolutely worth the investment just for their usefulness. So same thing that I did before. I'll go ahead and put my ruler back together. Oh, got it backwards. And I'll set it 1.25 inches. Right there. 1.25 inches. And I'll come up, and actually this time I can just reference my square off of the line I already struck. Come back, strike off my other line. Everything lines up, so hey, everything seems to be square. Come back, and same as before, I simply strike a line. There we go. And there we go. There we go. So that should be, I'm going to cut that taper right there. Right face, yep, so that'll taper in like this. This corner is going to get rounded over. So now I need to cut this out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this on the bandsaw. I'm going to make sure I leave my line, and then I'll sand and plane flush to the line. Hope that makes sense. So that's taper one. Now I need to do the other one. Which is a little bit harder because my taper, I don't have enough wood to really rest it on, but there we go. And now I've got the rough outline of my taper. Now, some of you might not have a bandsaw, but one thing you can always get is an inexpensive, I forget where this came from, handsaw. Same thing, you just start it and you can cut. I'm not gonna do all this work right here, but there's nothing stopping you from cutting with a handsaw. One of these, they're 20 bucks. They work good for what they are. This is about $15, and this works really good as well, where you can cut your line and then cut through. Here, I'll go ahead and start it. And this would be very time consuming to do, but you can absolutely do this with hand tools. So don't let the lack of a bandsaw or any tool stop you for that matter, and never underestimate the power of hand tools. Alright, so I've got my taper here. I left my line proud. Now I'm just going to take my sander. I'm going to put on some 80 grit sandpaper, then move my camera out of the way. So this is a Rotex, and the Rotex is a dual mode sander that can get really aggressive, kind of like a belt sander. A belt sander would actually be really good here because you'd have a nice flat plate to do this with, but I'm just going to carefully float this out with 80 grit to smooth up this transition. So we have our legs done, we routed, put our tapers and our round over on there. This is purely the decorative part of this build. Went ahead and I have my side panels ripped. I'm using 3/4 inch plywood for this because that's going to be extremely stable and it's going to allow me to get a good purchase. What's going to happen is I still need to cut the length, but it's going to sit inside like this. And it'll be flush on the inside, and then I'll take a 2-inch board and use that to create my panel, and then I'll have my reveals right there. I'm probably going to put a slight, probably 1/8 inch round over on the insides of this and on the inside of this, because that'll help with the look. Let me kind of bring the camera over here and show you a little bit more of what we're doing. So that'll sit right there. I'll frame it with this, put a little chamfer on there for the detail, and then I'll have, well, I won't have a, yeah, I'll have a frame going, will I have one going that way? Yeah, I'll have something going there as well to give it a little bit of depth. Or will I? I don't know. I'll have to see, but I'm gonna definitely have the horizontal pieces right there. And I might bring that out just a little bit more, so it's not quite so deep there. I'm gonna have to think about how I want that finished piece to look, but I'm definitely gonna use 3/4 on the inside to give it some stability. I might skin that with some 1/2 inch or even some 1/4 inch just to give it a little bit more depth. Now you're probably wondering how I'm gonna connect this where it's flush to the inside. That's pretty easy. I'm gonna use dominoes in this case, but you can still use pocket holes. So I'm gonna flip this over. So this is gonna go like this. This is gonna go like that. And then this guy is gonna go flush to the top. You could also do pocket screws if that's your method of joinery that you have. It's very easy to just put pocket holes on the inside, or if you are gonna skin it to get the proportions right, you can even do pocket holes on the outside, and then when you skin it, you won't see anything. But in my case, I'm going to do dominoes, just because I think that's gonna give me a higher quality product. You can use dowels, you can do a dado and just set this into a dado. That would work. You could even do a rabbet and just set this inside the rabbet, but you'd have to cut this longer to account for the rabbet. There's many ways to do this, all of which will give you a good quality piece of furniture, but we're gonna use dominoes. Okay, so I have this laid out how it's gonna go. The front where it needs to be. Yep, the front is where it needs to be, the back is where it needs to be, and I am literally writing the word domino right where it'll be facing right side up on the part that I need the domino. Your pocket screwing this, you don't really have to worry about that because you can just lay it flat and pocket screw it and then cover those pocket screws with like a veneer or something. So now that's in the right spot. Now I need to take this, and since both sides of this are going to be visible, I think I'm going to put this side to the inside. So I need to put domino right there. There we go. Here, let me come a little bit closer. There we go. Put domino right there, and then I'm going to put reference right there to know this is the side that I need to reference my domino machine off of. REF. Right there, right there. And then I'm going to put an arrow at the top, and I'll just go ahead and write top right there. And that way I know where I'm referencing everything off of. And then I'll even put an arrow right here of that's where I need to start. And there we go. Yeah, and then an arrow right there of where I need to start. Okay, I think I'm good to go. So I have everything set up on my domino. The great thing with the domino is it has these stops right here, so I can very quickly and easily place all my dominoes very precisely without having to measure and mark off a lot of things. I've got everything set up with my bit, the domino, everything's clamped in place. Again, I love these clamps. And everything's marked. So I'm going to start with my paddle right there and then go around. I'm going to try using the narrow setting. That way everything's just nice and tight and precise. If I have to go back and I'll realign things, I will, but this should be fine. Okay, so that's the first one. Now I'm gonna do my other leg and then the panel. If I was doing this out of solid wood instead of plywood, I would definitely probably just do a floating middle panel between this, but because I'm using plywood, I don't have to take that step. Okay, now I'm ready to glue up my top. I already have my boards jointed and ready to lay out my dominoes. Now you can just edge glue boards like so. I like using dominoes because I believe it gives me a little bit more strength. So the reason I use 3 boards right here instead of say one 1x12 and then just a little board is because 1x12s, because of the way the grain runs, will try to cup. So I like cutting it down and then butting them like this because it will give me a more stable top overall. So butcher block tabletops are all like 1-inch strips all glued together. So whenever I'm laying out my dominoes, I want to assemble it the right way. So I'm going to put a triangle across like that, and then I'm going to put arrows that indicate which side I'm starting on with the domino. Now if you're going to do biscuits, you can just come in and put witness marks like so to do that. And actually I'll do witness marks on this because I want to make sure whenever I trim this the final size, because this is oversized, that I don't accidentally cut into a domino and then have to do a lot of wood filling or something. And the reason I'm doing this out of pine instead of maple is this is getting painted. So I'll clean it up and paint it, and then my shelves will be a stained maple. Alright, and that's just keeping it cost effective. Let's see. Alright, we're good. Now we're gonna put our dominoes in. There we go. Now this time I am going to take these wings off, and then I'll put it in the medium wide setting just to give myself a little bit of wiggle room on alignment. Okay, so the reason I'm not worried about the arrow this time is I'm not using these indexing jigs. I'm just using my witness marks. So I'll finish this and then we'll glue it up. Now I need to put a radius on it, and I'm gonna put a 3/4 inch radius on this. So what I did is I grabbed my 1.5-inch hole saw bit. I'm not gonna put it teeth down because I don't want to put it grind it, but if you take it, line it up with your corner like so. And then carefully trace it with a pencil. You'll get a nice little radius that you can then cut out and then sand flush with a jigsaw. So we're going to do that. I'm going to make sure I cut outside my line and then I'll sand it flush. Okay, and to sand this, I'm going to use my Delta sander because it has a good flat pad on it. There we go. So this back corner I'm going to leave mostly square. I am going to go put an 1/8 of an inch radius round over all the way around the top. And I'll probably do that 1/8 of an inch, just break that corner right there so it'll have some nice smooth edges on everything. But this is done. I've already sanded it. Now I'm going to sand all the edges, and I always break over those real sharp edges with just a slight hit with the sandpaper to make it feel a little better on your hand. Now we're on to our next step. Okay guys, so I have the carcass assembled and the glue is dried, and now I need to put my back on. The back is going to be 1/2 inch plywood. I've already cut it to size. That'll square it up, hold it together. Started putting glue there, then remembered I wasn't filming anything. So I already showed the footage of me cutting the 1/2 inch deep, 3/8 inch wide rabbet in the back with my router. You can do that with a table saw or whatever. I stopped it here so it didn't go all the way down. I'm just going to put that in place and then glue and staple it around the perimeter. The center section is going to have a fixed shelf here. I accidentally mortised my dominoes in the wrong place right there, so I'm going to have to fill those in. Same right there, but that'll be easy to do and they won't be seen because there's going to be a fixed shelf here that keeps the bookcase from bowing out in the center. And then I will do shelf pins up the side so the other shelves can be adjustable. The bottom, I'm going to do a really cool pull-out tray for an aquarium, not an aquarium, like a terrarium that the customer has. And then underneath that will be a really cool place for some hidden storage. And I think that's going to look really cool whenever I get it done. So I'm going to glue this up, and then it'll be time to drill shelf pins and then really sand the body and get it painted. Alright, so I have this painted now. Painted a nice flat black with Kelly-Moore Durapoxy cabinet paint. That's what I use. And it's drying now. It's got just a really low luster to it. I have done 2 coats. I am probably going to do 3 top coats just to really build a nice full coat on this. I still need to glue up my shelves. The shelves are going to be made out of maple, and we're actually going to stain those with an Old Masters Special Walnut Stain. It's going to look really, really sharp when I'm done with it. I'm going to do a pull out here that's going to be a hidden shelf, and the top is going to be painted, and it's right over here. And it still needs, this actually needs 2 more coats on it. But just slowly building up the finish, and hopefully I'll get done with this early next week. So I have my cabinet built, and I am ready to do my bottom pull out. I've already done this wrong once, So now we're gonna try to do it the correct way. I went ahead and put on my drawer clips just to make sure I'm getting all my measuring right. I'm using undermount drawer slides. So I'm gonna clip them on all the way, measure from the back to this, and so I know 8.5 inches is what this can be. So I'm gonna build my sides of the drawer, basically make a U shape where it rises up about 1.5 inches. So you're gonna have 1.5 inches of hidden storage right here. And what else? And then the top will be just a bookshelf. So until you pull it out, you won't even be able to tell that's there. So that's gonna be pretty cool, I think. So now it's just build the frame of the drawer so that we can get that done. So that's gonna go in about 3/4 inch right there. So I'm gonna build a U shape, and then I'll put a false front on front of that U shape. Now, basically I made a U shape instead of just your traditional drawer, and I had to beef it up right here mainly to have a place for these pins to go, but that actually creates, well, it's actually a pretty strong joint. Lots of glue surface, lots of interlocking screws and nails and stuff. That's gonna be right there. So now let's test it and see if I messed up again. So that's gonna go in the pin right there. That's gonna go right there. All right, very good. That'll raise and lower. That is actually not too good. So that's gonna go right there. Hi. So I think I need to do something to help hold that down because I'm not thrilled with that. But it locks. It does stick out a little bit more than I wanted it to, but I can cut my false front to go on right there, and then I'll paint this entire unit, and then I will fix this little pin area right here to keep it from tipping. So, and then the drawer, or the shelf rather, I'll just set on top, make sure it clears, and then I'll just shoot a couple of nails with some glue in there to attach it. That way it's centered right to left. Now I could use adjustable hinges, but now you're gonna have what I believe is about a 2.5 inch hollow right here that I think is gonna be really cool to be a hidden storage area, and then I'll just have a lip on the bottom that you pull to slide out. And for the most part, this won't be used, but then you'll have enough area to hide something. I thought it was cool, so that's what I'm doing. Hey guys, I am done with this bookcase. I'm really proud of how it turned out. So down here at the bottom, how this ended up turning out is really awesome. So I'm gonna show you that in just a second. Stained maple shelves. I used Old Master Special Walnut on maple. The rest of this is built out of number 1 Southern Yellow Pine. It's not free. Did a cool little round over right there. Nice reveals. I really like this eggshell black we use. This is done in Durapoxy. This is what I'm super proud of right here. That pulls out to reveal some hidden storage. And then once it closes, unless you know it's there, you're not ever going to notice that. Really proud of how that looks. So I am going to work on a set of plans for this bookcase. And then I'm going to try to make those plans where you can customize it to build it the way you want to build it, different heights, widths, etc. But this bookcase, just so you know, is from here to there is 28 inches wide, 6 foot tall, and 12 and a half inches deep, I believe. And that's just the dimensions that I picked and my customer picked to get it done. If you're watching this and you want me to build you a piece of custom furniture, you can go to daileywoodworks.com. If you want to build it yourself, go to the recreationalwoodworker.com. There are links in the description below. Hope you like this video. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.